Fellas, today we are looking at the Trials Scout Rifle. Now you're probably wondering, Cross, how the hell do you even have this thing? Well, if you happen to save Trials of Osiris bounties from last season and then turned them in this season, it would drop you some of the new loots. One of them being this 260 rapid fire frame scout rifle, Aisha's Embrace. Now lore-wise, I haven't even looked into this. I have no idea who Aisha is, but she sounds nurturing. But this 260 round per minute scout is by far, without a doubt, the best 260 in the game. And I know some of you may not even like scout rifles or even 260s to begin with, but this is a weapon that will duel multiple top dogs in the meta and win. I was able to win 1v1 duels against opponents using things like Last Word, which is honestly quite a feat against Last Word users in that short range. And somehow, Aisha's Embrace was able to pull it off. Now, the biggest contributor to why this scout rifle is the best is this perk right here, Alacrity. Again, fellas, this weapon actually has two different origin traits, but the one you're going to want to use is this origin trait called Alacrity, where you gain increased reload stability, aim assist, and range when you are the last living member of your fire team or running solo. Now guys, this works in everything that you're running solo. Fella, it works for you inside of lost sectors, inside of Rumble, when you're the last member of your fire team. And if you want to know how big of a difference it makes, substantial, especially in the aim assist target acquisition department. I played with this weapon inside of 6v6 and it was good, but it wasn't like crazy, not in comparison to how it felt in Rumble. In Rumble, dude, I felt like we couldn't lose. And this is the trait that can be used in both PvE and PvP, and the scout rifle is void, meaning things like volatile flow will synergize with this scout rifle. And considering that volatile flow and volatile rounds really benefits rapid fire weapons, you can imagine a scout rifle like this, which by the way we have anti-barrier rounds for, is very, very good. Now this particular role right here was one I was very interested in, and we're gonna go over god rolls of course, but big shout out to a certain Yakuza for allowing us to play with his role. I wanted to lean heavily into consistency, which led us to this role right here, chambered compensator, light mag, perpetual motion, and Eye of the Storm. Now an interesting combination. Perpetual motion giving that bonus to stability and handling and reload speed, and by the way, this perk does persist throughout a gunfight and even after, especially once you get right back into motion. And at stacks of 1, it's already noticeable, giving us 5 stability, 10 handling, and 10 reload speed. And at 2 stacks, this is 10 stability, 20 handling, and 20 reload speed. Now considering that this weapon is sitting with our stability masterwork at a crispy 69 stability, which is very nice, this weapon felt super stable. And then on top of that, Eye of the Storm, where the weapon becomes more accurate and boosts handling as your health gets lower. But the main thing is the increase in accuracy. And you'll be surprised, guys, how much Eye of the Storm will actually proc for you with this scout rifle. It's such a dual-tastic weapon that there are multiple times Eye of the Storm will proc. And guess what? It stacks with Alacrity. Those two synergize, both of which are increasing your ability to snag those shots. There are moments in gunfights, even with me being at low health, where the gun aims itself. I'll literally take a load to the face and still somehow come out on top with the scout rifle, strafing as fast as I want and still win it. That's what's crazy. And it's because Eye of the Storm and Alacrity, both of those are synergizing greatly here. Now, time to kill wise, considering this is a 260 round per minute scout, these are not the best. They're not the worst, but they're not the best. It's a 0.93 TTK. And when I say it's not the best, you've got things like high impact scouts that can reach up to 0.8 seconds. You've got lightweight scouts that can have a 0.9 second time to kill value. What makes rapid fire so good is number 1, they have the best body shot TTK value of 1.4. Number 2, they're the most forgiving. 3 crits, 2 body every single time, guys. As long as you're landing 60% crits, you will reach that 0.93 TTK. Again, consistency is what Aisha's Embrace presents here, and it does that wonderfully with this archetype. But Cross, why is it a 260? It's just the cut and run reskinned. You're right. I honestly don't know, because it looks very similar, but man, it is so much better than the cut and run. By the way, you guys on Light GG, y'all smoking something. Y'all giving this thing a 4.5 rating? What the hell's wrong with y'all? Now, there are some roles here on Aisha's Embrace that may present some benefits if you were to lean into that TTK value. And that is, of course, multi-kill clip. Not necessarily better than kill clip inside of PvP, but pretty good inside of PvE. But you can use multi-kill clip with perpetual motion. And if you wanted to lean into that increase in target acquisition, tunnel vision, and multi-kill clip. I personally think you're going to want to still use perpetual motion, but if you're looking looking just to increase that damage, which by the way, 1 stack is 17%, 2 stack is 33%, and of course 3 stacks is 50%. For the most part, inside of PvP, rarely will you get higher than 1 stack. With that being said though, you're still looking at nearly 55 damage per crit, which is pretty much a 4 tap or a 3 crit 1 body, which by the way is a 0.69 time to kill value. Yo, what's up with this gun and all the 69s? Personally, Eye of the Storm is the better play. Now there is one other damage perk which we don't normally talk about, but listen, we have to give it a thought, and that's Adagio. Now Adagio, normally looked down upon because it doesn't really make a big difference time to kill wise, got a buff in its duration and its range, and it now increases damage from 25% to 30%, or so it's supposed to. I've yet to try Adagio out in this sandbox, but something to remember about scout rifles and pretty much all weapons, right? Adagio does drop that rate of fire down. So if someone breaks archetypes, but time to kill wise, it doesn't really change much here. And that's the thing about Adagio. I still want to test it out on the scout rifle just to see, as technically the damage should be increased to about 61 per crit with Adagio, but understand, even that much damage won't result in you getting the 3 tap. On top of that, it drops your rate of fire. So then we're looking at a situation considering it may be a 20% drop, which may put your rate of fire somewhere around like that 208 mark. And if it's just a 15% drop, which is what it is with things like hand cannons, it's somewhere around like a 220. So let's just take the best case scenario for Adagio. 220 rounds per minute, okay? 30% increase in damage. All right, what does this drop our time to kill value down to? 0.82. You see the issue with Adagio? It doesn't really make that big of a difference time to kill wise. It's still better. And on top of that, it allows you to lay on the trigger, and it lasts for 7 seconds now, which is longer than the 5 seconds from multi-kill clip. So I'm not saying it isn't a play, but it isn't like this drastic change in TTK, but it is a ginormous bump there in forgiveness. Either way it goes, personally, again, Eye of the Storm, Perpetual Motion is still the role I'm looking at, especially when paired with Alacrity. Those combinations are deadly. The only thing I probably would have changed about this weapon, guys, I would probably go high caliber rounds. Yeah, you've got a weapon that has a 0.93 second time to kill value. You're in a situation where peppering your opponent will literally save you mid gunfight. Having that increase in flinch will really mess opponents up. And you don't really need to compensate here for stability outside of maybe just a decent barrel perk and potentially a stability masterwork. And range for this gun is just fine. I mean, it sits at a default of 41 for the most part, fellas, considering that its damage fall off at its default range is 75 meters. You're good, man. I don't think you need much more than that. Like, I know we got Vostok and Eternity back in the game, but come on, how often are you really in those far reaching lanes? 75 meters is plenty enough. Now, barrel perks, I like Chamber Commentator. It gave me another +10 there in recoil direction. It also helped my stability. Personally, I think that's the way to go. Recoil direction for this weapon is at 55, meaning it is vertical, but there's deviation both left and right. Just adding on that +10 will actually make the weapon tighten that cone just a little bit. I do not suggest a counterbalance mod. It will make it an even number, which will mean more drift. But mods to think about. I like freehand grip. Coming around the corner and immediately having the weapon pretty much ready at my side was pretty nice. And there were many times I was backing up and hip firing with the gun, and it actually performed fairly well. But you can use things like targeting adjuster mod, Icarus if you're taken to the air. Really, it just depends on the situation. I will say this though, considering that this weapon is also going to have an adept version where you're going to be able to also slot adept mods. Now for PvE, considering this is a void weapon, we have to talk about it, and it's a rapid fire void weapon as well. It's got some interesting combinations, including the likes of triple tap and 4 times the charm. Like, what the hell is that? Talk about never reloading. I don't really know if this is the route I would go with. I would probably lean toward Vorpal. Considering we have scout rifle mods this season with our artifact, I'm thinking shoot to loot, Vorpal, triple tap Vorpal, maybe a stats for all Vorpal. You could still use the likes of multi-kill clip. I know it's got Focus Fury, but I'm not necessarily leaning toward Focus Fury, at least from what I've seen from it. Turnabout is just very specific, especially considering this is a primary weapon, but that Vorpal will just be a nice flat buff. And again, on primary weapons, it's a 20% buff against champs and other yellow bars, which is very nice when popping those barriers. So something to consider, fellas. This is not a scout rifle just for PvP. It has potential in PvE. Rock it with some volatile rounds, and you'll be amazed by the explosions it can make. Well, guys, that is my review for Aisha's Embrace. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Try it out. Play inside a Rumble and solo activities. I will say it is a noticeable difference, and it's very interesting that Bungie's giving us Alacrity, right? Because these are the type of perks that will make these trial weapons the absolute meta in game modes like Rumble. This Scout, with this role and that origin trait, I felt unstoppable. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.